So let me start. So I do recognize that we're short on time, so I'm gonna be very quick, just trying to be skipping all these details and kind of things and just hitting to the point. So if you have any question or concerns about the method or other kind of measurement issues, just let me know, either in Q&A or after the session. So let me start. So as pointed out by keynote speech by Professor Brinton here, so perhaps the most significant demographic change over the last decade is a substantial decline in the fertility rate in many parts of the world, especially in East Asia and Europe. And as a key driver of population aging and shrinking labor force, very low birth rate have been argued to cause an kind of existential threat to countries through various mechanisms, such as negative impacts on social welfare system or healthcare or sustainable economic growth. So for this very reason, the issue of low birth rate is becoming more and more a kind of politically sensitive issue, and this is becoming more kind of political issue. Some politicians and political commentators, they're actually unhesitatingly exploiting the issue of low fertility to increase their political visibility and power. So basically what they do, those kind of politicians, what they do is as follows. So first, they frame the issue of low fertility to increase public concerns over the future of the nation. And second, they promote conservative and traditional gender and family values, such as like women are supposed to have kids and raise them well, and therefore they kind of bring out the country out of the demographic crisis. This is that kind of narrative. And third, they blame and scapegoat the opposite political side as the cause of the fertility decline. And ultimately, they do all these things to increase their political muscle. So, and in order to achieve these goals, there are some political propagandas that have been raised and promoted by some populist and nationalist politicians on the far right side. And the left-right political fertility gap hypothesis, which is the topic of my presentation today, is a particular and very popular type of such political propaganda. And there might be some different versions of how this hypothesis is put forward, but the bottom line is this. So on average, members of the political right have or desire to have much more children than the political left. And therefore, the declining birth rates in many parts of the world right now are actually driven by young people who are politically leaning to the left. So that is the basic kind of structure of this argument and hypothesis. And this is, so what as I said, the left-right political fertility gap hypothesis is about. And actually, so it's actually not kind of uncommon thing. It's very popular. So it's not really difficult to find this in actually the real-world political setting. The first time I myself personally witnessed this sort of kind of left-right political fertility gap hypothesis is actually the latest presidential election in South Korea happened in 2022. So this guy who are kind of making an uppercut right now, he's the presidential candidate of the Conservative Party at that time, and he's now the president of South Korea. So basically, so a little bit of background of this guy. So he was actually the nothing in the political scene before his presidential campaign. So he had been a kind of lifetime prosecutor. So you may consider him as kind of a Korean version of Donald Trump. He's nothing in the political area. So that is the why. So he and his campaign team really kind of needed some provocative and inflammatory political campaigns to increase his political visibility. So what he did is actually he utilized the issue of low fertility because the presidential campaign happened in 2022, and 2022 was the first time the fertility rate in South Korea hit about 0.7 kind of thing. So he really cleverly utilize this issue of low fertility to increase his political visibility. So his kind of basic argument at the forefront of his political campaign was like, more broadly speaking, the political left, and more specifically speaking, the feminist is the kind of the root cause of this fertility decline in this country. So it was kind of the political campaign at his forefront. I mean, so and he became the president, and the political commentators are kind of commenting on this. So this strategy was quite successful to get his presidency. So yeah, this is the case of South Korea. And if you follow American politics, or in general you are interested in kind of political propaganda, so it's really easy to find this sort of kind of left-right political fertility hypothesis in American politics. So I don't have any kind of personal emotion toward this guy. So J.D. Vance is really, I mean, he's a solid guy. He's a really nice guy. The current senator of Ohio State, right? Right. So he is kind of really successful businessman. Is formerly kind of also lawyer. So he wrote a really famous book, something called The Hillbilly Allergy. So it is a really famous book in the United States. So he is the good guy, while the president of South Korea is I would say is a bad guy. He's a good guy. But I don't really particularly like his kind of political campaign, because also this guy was kind of at the forefront of his campaign. So he also raised this kind of something called the left-right political fertility gap hypothesis. Because, so this happened a few years ago. At that time, the United States has kind of experienced a substantial decline in total fertility rate after 2010. So it was actually the election was happened amid of the fertility decline in the United States. And he used this kind of, so just simply put, so we should work from him. We should worry that in America, family formation, our birth rates, a ton of indicators of family health have collapsed. So the childless left have no physical commitment to the future of the country. So it is one. And this argument was immediately picked up by other political commentators in the United States, say, woke, socialist, progress, and hate babies more than anything else. And the left detests the fact that there are children. So, I mean, if you Google it in the news of this kind of the left-right fertility hypothesis in the United context, you may find this ton of this kind of narratives. Okay? So also, and just quick information, J.D. Vance got the senator position. Yeah. And Europe is kind of prime spot where this kind of things happen. So I'm not going to deep into the details, but UK, especially UK, Italy, so this kind of the political left-right fertility gap hypothesis kind of combined with a really fundamental religious city. So it's kind of, yeah, actually, it's kind of really global thing, either in East Asia, in America, in Europe. So you may easily find these kind of political narratives. Okay, so my question in this, I would say this is just a research note. It's really descriptive, explanatory. So in this research note, my overarching question is, so is this really the case? I mean, the left-right political fertility gap hypothesis. So does the left-right fertility gap hypothesis has kind of empirical support so that the politicians and political commentators, they have kind of empirical ground to argue as such? So, okay, so that is my question. So, yeah, that is what I'm going to try to do in this research note. So I'm gonna quickly talk about the data and method. So I actually, in this kind of exploratory analysis, I used multiple data sets. One is European Social Survey, and the other is International Social Survey Program. But for today, I'm just gonna talk only about the analysis from European Social Survey. The dependent variable is fertility intentions within a 3-year time frame. The question is like, do you plan to have a child within the next 3 years? And it's measured, the 1 is definitely not, and 5 is definitely yes. So it's a higher value, means higher intention to have a child. And my analytic focus is on those who currently live with a different sex husband, wife, partners. It's kind of really conventional way to analyze fertility intention. And I'm also going to take a parity-specific approach. So based on, I mean, the number of kids they have. So yeah, I'm just gonna skip. So what I want to make a point is that fertility intention is kind of a valid measure of fertility outcome in many sense. Okay, and the key independent variable is political orientation as measured by the left right self-placement scale. The question is, in politics, people talk about left and right. So where would you place yourself on this scale? 0 is far left, 5 we can say this is center, and 10 is far right. So higher values is more conservative political attitude or denomination, political denomination. So I include this 11-point scale as kind of just original 11-point continuous scale. But I also checked possible non-linear relationship between political orientation and fertility intention, given the possibility that people in general have kind of really similar fertility intention, but it is possible that those who are in the far right side have kind of higher fertility rate than other groups. So I checked different possibilities with more flexible functions. And yeah, random intercept, random slope, two-level multi-level models. So yeah, I'm gonna just skip this. So just final thing. So I control for age because age might be a possible confounder because age can both affect political orientation and political intention. So we should control for to estimate the relationship between political orientation and political intention. But I avoid controlling for possible post-treatment variables because including them may underestimate the true relationship between political orientation and fertility intention. Yeah. So here is my quick findings. So first we are gonna look at the male sample, those who doesn't have kids yet. So it is parity 0, intention to have their first child among male sample. So only you need to see is just LR scales, or left right political scale. So as I said, the higher values on this scale is more conservative political attitude, and the positive coefficient means that those who have more conservative political orientation have higher intention to have first child. Actually, this is the case because 0.35, the positive value, but it is not statistically significant association. Okay, so again, still it's kind of, there is some problem here. So actually, it actually is the kind of the 32 European countries in the sample. So the black highlighted. So here is gray highlighted dot with confidence interval is not actually shown here. Probably because of some technical issues. So what you just need to see is the black highlighted dot. So black highlighted dot means that it is actually the positive association. Black highlighted dot above 0 is actually the positive association between political orientation and political intention is statistically significant. But this is only the case for 2 countries out of 32 countries. The rest of the countries, this is not the case. It's non-significant. Even some 3 countries, those who have more conservative political attitudes have a lower intention to have first child. So, and then this is a female sample. So yeah, so female sample intention to have a first child also the same. The positive is really minimally positive and is not statistically significant. And again, only 2 countries here, the positive association between political orientation and have intention to have first child is statistically significant. The rest of countries, not the case. And intention to have a second child, again, the male sample, kind of similar. So in this case, only 3 countries out of 32 countries, this is the case in terms of statistical significance. Other than that, it's not. Also very similar. I mean, here even the coefficient is negative, although it doesn't have any meaning. So again, the statistically positive association between political orientation and intention to have a second child is only the case in 2 countries. And finally, this is parity specific 2, intention to have a third child, actually, from male sample. Yeah, so here, the overall association between the political orientation and fertility intention across 32 countries is actually negative. The overall association is negative. And the positive association, which means that, again, I mean, those who have more conservative political attitudes have higher intention to have their third child, is actually the 6 countries are the case, a little bit higher number of countries in the case. But as I said, I mean, other than that, so 26 countries is not the case. And finally, female sample, we have kind of very similar finding. So yeah, so based on this analysis, based on parity-specific fertility intention, I did not have kind of really strong evidence to argue that the political left have a higher intention to have their kids as compared to the political left. But so as we know, statistically non-significant association do not mean that there is truly no association, because it is only one type of fertility measure that we can find. So we need more kind of bigger picture to whether the relationship is really truly no or not. So I used ISSB, International Social Survey Program data, and I have utilized different dependent variable, the perceived ideal number of children for a family to have, positive perception toward having and raising children, negative perception toward having and raising children. So I did not find any kind of statistically significant association between political orientation and all these different dependent variables. I did not find any convincing evidence. So conclusion. So I think my argument is that the left-right fertility gap hypothesis is fraught with empirical and conceptual problems. First, as I've shown this, empirical support for the hypothesis is very weak. So my sense is that the politicians and commentators, they do not have really strong base, empirical base to argue as such. But the bigger problem is this kind of, not just left-right fertility gap hypothesis, so all other different kinds of political narratives promoted by some politicians has really aimed to explain a complex social phenomena in a really oversimplified framework. It's like in the case of left-right fertility gap hypothesis, it counterposes two sides of the political spectrum and points to one as the root cause of the problem. And so you should know that. So for politicians and policymakers, this oversimplified frame really have merits, because I quote from the Stuart Jitterboston from the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. So he said really nice, it allows them to negate the obligation to make a tough, complex policy decision. So we should make sure that politicians should not be driven by this kind of things. So, and finally, so ultimately, this sort of political propaganda may thwart constructive discussions on the origin and nature of contemporary fertility declines, especially in East Asia and other countries. So, yeah, that is my presentation, and that's it.